Welcome to another week of the Neurodivergent Nurse. I have a phenomenal guest that I found on Instagram probably, I don't know, maybe a year or so ago, but I've been following his account religiously since then because I don't know why. And I think it's probably has something to do with ADHD. But fashion, I love it, but I am so bad at it. So I brought on a professional and an expert to help those of us with ADHD figure out how we can look fashionable too with our ADHD brains. So, Paul, can you tell us more about yourself, including
Yeah,
your
so
last
hi
name
everyone.
since I can't pronounce it?
Hi everybody. My name is Paul Julch. I know that's hard because everybody wants to put another vowel in there, but it's only got one. And I have a personal wardrobe stylist. So I live in the San Francisco Bay Area. I work with clients one-on-one locally, and I work with clients virtually all over the country, and actually some clients out of the country. And I really work with anybody who isn't feeling great about their style, anybody who wants to be more purposeful or intentional about how they dress, or just more mindful about their wardrobe overall, anybody who just wants to feel better in what they're wearing, and simply just make it easier to get dressed every day because we all have to get dressed every day. So why not enjoy it? So that's the bulk of what I do. I mean, I do a lot on Instagram. I actually love the creative process on Instagram. So I share a lot. Um, I share tips and tricks with my community. Sometimes I spend a little too much time on Instagram. But yeah, I really love what I do. I've been doing this. I realized in April it's going to be 10 years that I've been a wardrobe stylist. And then before that, I had a long career in retail. But I do feel like I'm sort of doing what I was always meant to do.
I also want to add that while you give us great advice and great tips, you give so much inspiration too, because there's times where I go to your account, I'm thinking, I haven't seen Paul in a minute. Let me go and see what Instagram
Mhm.
didn't give me. And I feel so good because there's times of the reminders that you give, like the reel that you made that said, "Are you wearing your clothes inside out?" Just the reminder that it is no one's going to know our size. No one's going to be looking at the things that we think that they are,
Yeah.
and just that we're beautiful in our own skin and our own style, whatever that may be as well.
Well, and totally. And one of the, it's still written at the top of my website and how I started my business almost 10 years ago. I believe that everyone can and deserves to have great style, no matter your lifestyle, no matter your body type, no matter your budget, no matter your challenges, no matter your skin color, no matter any of that stuff. You deserve to feel good in your clothes, and you can feel good in your clothes. And a lot of what I try to do is just demystify that whole process, because especially through fashion, and I feel like sometimes on Instagram, people make it feel people make it seem like they have that style gene, or they have this knowledge that you don't have, and that's why it's so easy for them.
I'm so sorry. Don't be mad that I'm interrupting this podcast episode, which is a pretty great episode. Am I wrong? Anyway, I have spent the last 2.5 years not doing the traveling that I love and really enjoy. This year, I decided in 2023 it's going to be different. But I also wanted to extend that to you. All the years before, I've enjoyed traveling on my own terms, but I decided that this year I was going to open it up to the followers of the Neurodivergent Nurse. I want you to go on, I want you to click the link in the show description, and I want you to sign up to go to Spain with me from October 9th to October 15th. There's a whole itinerary. There's so much fun things that we are going to do while we are in Spain, like walking tours and sunset cruises and all of those fun things. Anyways, check every single bit of it out in the show notes. Click that link. If you can't access it, shoot me an email at theneurodivergentnurse@gmail.com. The first 10 people that sign up, there are some spots still available. You get a discount. So go ahead, do it now. There are monthly payment plans available. Let's get on this so that we can be the best of travel buddies.
It's not easy for them either. I'm going to tell the truth. They work at this. They curate how they present themselves. And then they present themselves intentionally, but sometimes I feel like they're not making it as easy, or I mean, I'm not calling anybody specific out, but also not making it as accessible as it could be. And I mean, if I had my way, I would somehow manage to make everyone feel good in what they're wearing, because I know what it's like to not feel good in what you're wearing. I know that personally. I know that working with clients. I've been up and down in weight multiple times in my life and just lost the joy in clothes sometimes. And I love clothes. And so I know exactly what that feels like. I mean, I do have a background in psychology. It does help with my business, but it's really just making it simple through, and especially on social media, just like you said, simple tips, simple reminders. I mean, I tell people exactly what you said all the time, that things that we're so focusing on, probably no one else is noticing. And honestly, I know this is a quote that everybody says, but like, other people's opinions of ours is really none of our business. You focus on what makes you feel good, and that's what matters the most. And so I work with a lot of clients on the relationship with the person they see in the mirror. It's on their self-image and how they want to change that perception or affect that through clothes, or like I said before, just feel a little bit better about how they get dressed every day.
I love that because one of the things that people with ADHD struggle with is rejection sensitivity dysphoria. So you
Mm-hmm.
absolutely hit the nail on the head 100% that we really are so focused on the perception that everyone has on us. And a lot has to do with our presentation, whether it's the fact that we have an eccentric style. I have purple hair, I have crazy hair all the time, but like from the neck down, nothing's ever cute. And I'm so aware of that whenever I go out to public. And for a lot of us, it causes us not to want to go out into public
Mm-hmm.
because of how people are going to see us. And one of the struggles that you mentioned that I know a lot of people on Instagram has mentioned to me when it came to fashion is the time that it takes to put on the clothes or to find the style. Do you have any methods that can make that a little bit easier for us?
I mean, I was actually having this conversation with my business coach, oddly enough, who is a former stylist, about some stuff that we had seen on Instagram. And it really was, there's definitely some work that needs to be done before you go shopping, before you put on clothes, before you clean out your closet. And it is some of that work about, how do you want to feel in clothes? And I'm not accepting comfortable as the only word, because I hear it all the time. But how do you want to feel in clothes? Do you want to feel sexy? Do you want to feel feminine? Do you want to feel powerful? Do you want to feel edgy? Do you want to feel unique? Do you want to more blend in? Do you want to feel distinctive? Do you want to feel preppy? I mean, there's tons of words, but just figuring out some of those, how you want to feel, and having some things as filters. I mean, there's multiple steps to figuring out what that is, but having some steps as filters so that getting dressed doesn't feel like you're starting from zero all the time. You're starting from a place of more knowledge, or you're starting from a place where you've already built a foundational wardrobe, or you're starting from a place where I mean, I have tons of strategies, but you're starting from a place where you've taken selfies of outfits of yourself in outfits that you love, so you can just repeat the same outfit again. So there's things you can do to make it not take time in the long run, but sometimes it does require some initial investment of time so that you can get that ease with getting dressed every day.
Okay, so thinking ahead of what you want to present as, like you were saying,
Hmm.
powerful, sexy, whatever. All right, so let's say that I decide tomorrow that I'm going to go out on a date night and I
Hmm.
want to feel sexy. What what is your starting point with that of planning ahead to make it not feel like a chore?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I would just think to yourself, what has made you feel sexy in the past? What has gotten you into that space in the past? You don't need to rethink it from like zero. I said every single time. You can have outfits clothes that you know work for you, that you know make you feel certain ways that you can start to depend on. Like, I mean, to get back to Instagram, Instagram is the place, and fashion in general is the place where it's their answer always seems to be buying something new all the time. Fashion is designed to make you want something new every few months. But when you have a wardrobe that functions for you, you're reaching into your closet. You're not driving to the store to find something for that occasion that is coming up. And like I said, I would start with what has worked before. I'm a big belief in outfit repeating or item repeating to get you that same feeling, especially let's say it's a date night. Let's say it's a first date and you want to feel confident. You're not going to wear something brand new when you want to get that feeling of confidence. You're going to wear something that you already feel good in. In my past, when I first started years ago, I worked with a matchmaking company and I would help people create outfits specifically for dates out of what they already owned. I can
That's
say that
awesome.
the women were a lot easier than the guys. The guys were hard because they didn't have any clothes. But it was creating outfits from what you already had in your closet. And it was in that instance about the feelings of confidence, but also relatability and openness and trying to express those through what you're wearing because that's what you were trying to get across in that situation.
I think that is such, I mean, obviously, everything you're going to say is great advice because this is what you do for a
Thank
living.
you.
But I just want to reiterate that is such great advice, especially for brains like ours, because I have a wedding coming up on Friday. I cannot pick out an outfit. I don't know. I don't know what clothes I have in my closet. So I went online and bought an outfit from head to toe, including accessories, shoes, the dress, everything. And it's a great reminder, especially when it comes to first dates and things like that, because we don't know what we're going to get. We don't know how we're going to feel an hour into it after we have dinner. Are we going to feel bloated and it's not going to look great on us? So
Hmm.
that reminder of just think back to a time that we really felt attractive and beautiful and things like that and use that as our starting point. Wonderful. I would not have thought of that. So I appreciate that greatly.
Sure. I don't know if I've said that one before.
Well, I'm glad you said it here. All right, so let's go to the other side of the spectrum. Yesterday on my story, I asked my followers what issues they have whenever it comes to fashion. So we're going to go through just a couple things that
Cool.
I picked out that I definitely relate to and I saw on repeat through the
Yeah.
answers. One of the things that they mentioned was wanting to wear the same thing every day.
Yeah.
How do we combat that?
I feel like wanting to wear the same thing every day, there's a couple of facets to that. It's the ease of not having to pick out a new outfit, but also that one outfit, for whatever reason, feels comfortable, feels appropriate, feels good. So it's looking at what that outfit is and say simple things. I mean, let's say a striped t-shirt. Striped t-shirts are my comfort zone. So what else can I find that's similar to this, whether it's a different color stripe or it's the same fit but a solid color, that is similar but a little different, so you don't look like you're showing up the same way every day. If you're someone whose outfit is a striped t-shirt, skinny jeans, and a cardigan, you can play with different colors of t-shirts. You can play with different colors and shapes of cardigans. You can play with different washes and colors of jeans. You can change out your accessories so it can be sort of a uniform concept, that it's the same outfit idea, but it can be expressed different ways so that you don't feel uncomfortable if you show up to an office Monday through Friday and you would think, I would never wear the same thing 2 days in a row, but that's what I want to do. You're wearing the same outfit idea 2 days in a row, but it looks very different. So that's an easy way when you've settled on something that really works for you and your solution would be grabbing the same thing. You can translate the same concept into different items and outfits.
I love that so much because while we love novelty, because typically we hate routine, that's just, but we need it. We need the structure, we
Mhm.
need that. And, but when it comes to comfort, so that we can be our most authentic version of ourselves and not worry so much. I love that idea of how to go about just having one style idea that you fit so comfortably in, but just change up the pieces while you're still in that uniform of your comfort zone. That's
Yeah, exactly.
fantastic. Okay, another question that, or something that they mentioned was getting, let's see, uh, for the record, I have really terrible handwriting. So I jotted it all
No
down.
worries.
All right, let's see. When you mentioned in one of your videos, um, you know what to wear to the grocery store, you know what to wear to a wedding, but you struggle with everything in between.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit more about that and that whole concept and where you came from with that?
So that is a direct quote from a client. And that sentiment has been expressed by many clients, especially after the last 2.5 years, especially after many of us have been home more than we have ever been home before. And for many people whose work life or other aspects of life have permanently shifted because of the pandemic, you've really gotten into a groove of how to dress when you're not leaving the house or when you're running a super casual errand like the grocery store. And then you do feel comfortable dressing for a dressy occasion, like the wedding you're going to at the end of the week, but you've kind of lost the middle ground. I talk to so many clients about that they've lost the middle. They forgot how to get dressed for all occasions that exist in the middle. They are missing clothes for the middle. They really embraced sweatpants and then they have dressy clothes and they've lost or sized out of or whatever it is, worn out everything else. And so the strategy that I was putting forth in that specific reel was elevating by degree. So let's just say you're going to the grocery store outfit is a t-shirt, jeans, and sneakers and a hoodie. Well, if you want to take it up a step, let's say you leave on your t-shirt and jeans, but change your hoodie for a cardigan or a blazer and change your sneakers for like a pair of flats or loafers. You've elevated those two pieces by degrees. You want to take it up another notch, and maybe you did put on loafers and a blazer, you change your t-shirt to a blouse. That kicks it up another notch. Or you change your jeans to pants or trousers, or you change your shoes from flats to heels if you're a heels person. It's taking the items and just kicking them up in little notches that elevates your overall look. And the converse one that you didn't see in that reel, because it's a lot of my reels are blog posts, so that it's in the blog post. Because I'm very active on my blog as well. I mean, for me, active is twice a month. That's a lot. I showed how to take a wedding dress outfit that you're typically, it was like a blue lace dress and heels and a wrap, and take that down a notch. You know, take the dress down to something a little bit less dressy, not a lace dress, but like a simpler cotton dress, and then putting it on with a cardigan and a pair of wedges as opposed to a pair of fancy heels. Taking that down another notch and putting on a easy little knit t-shirt dress with a denim jacket and sneakers. So people think of it, it's easy to overcomplicate the process, but when you think of it as taking things up by degrees, it's a little easier to, like I said, demystify that process of getting dressed for all those things that happen in the middle.
I love the brain in general. So I'm just curious because you fascinate me the way that you talk about these things because it's so outside of conversations that I have with other people.
Mhm.
When you come up and you create outfits or elements for presentation and dressing others and things like that, do you see it in your head first? Is it something that you research? Like, how is your creative process when it comes to that?
That's a good question. I did a styling session yesterday for a client, and she's like, and it was my first one for her, and she's like, do I? Because I when I do styling sessions for clients, some clients want to try on the clothes, but generally we've already tried on the clothes, and I do what I call flat lays. So I take the clothes, I lay them out, I put the top with the bottom, with the jacket, with the shoe, with the necklace, and I take a picture and I give my client a lookbook, which is pictures of all their outfits. So I was doing it for her yesterday, and she's like, do I stay here? Do I leave? And I'm like, some people leave and go do other stuff because I don't, as long as I have access to your clothes, I don't need them. And we've talked through priorities and all that stuff. But I said, you can watch, you're just going to see my creative process, which is sometimes me grabbing an item and thinking, and because I pull out everything out of the closet on a rack. And I'm thinking, what do I like? What do I like? What do I like? Because, okay, I'll do that. Okay, what about this? I can't say there's a creative process. It's very, after 10 years, it's very instinctual for me. After I do it, I can talk through why I did. Like, let's say she had like a off-white denim jacket. I'm thinking of a specific outfit. Off-white denim jacket, which I layered underneath with an off-white sweater and like, let's say brown cords and sneakers. And because there was darkness in the brown cords, I grabbed a necklace that was a brown leather with different beads on it to balance the darkness in it. But those are the things I kind of do instinctually, just because I've done this for so long. I've always loved clothes. So I haven't just been dressing people for 10 years. I've been dressing people for over 50 years. And now you know how old I am. But, well, I can't say I dressed people in the first year. But anyway, I've been dressing people forever. I always grew up telling people what to wear. I always loved shopping. I got my love of style and shopping from my mom. When I grew up, you know, my parents were amazing parents. You know, when I was younger years ago, they let me have dolls. I hand sewed clothes for Barbies. Like, I did all that stuff. I've always been fascinated by clothes and the transformational nature of clothes. I mean, there's one quote that I say, it's very simple, but I like it in that it's change your outfit, change your attitude. You know, you can have a simple change of clothes and it can totally shift your outlook at the moment for the day or whatever. So that fascinates me. So much of what I do has been because I've been putting together outfits forever. My background in retail is almost all in apparel retail, and most of it's in visual merchandising, which is product placement and displays. So it's been my job forever. So sorry to have a vague answer, but so much of it is just more instinctual for me than I don't picture the full outfit in my head. I always have ideas after I've been shopping with the client because we're shopping incredibly deliberately to fill specific gaps in their wardrobe. So I like my shopping notes. I'm not going to flash any up, but like, I have one right here, but they're insane because they're so detailed. But I know exactly what I want for my client because it's not only reflecting her style, it's balancing what she owns and filling specific gaps in her wardrobe. So I already have ideas at the after the shopping session with my client. So I usually show up with some thoughts in my head, but then it's more, I want to take this item and I want to show her 2 or 3 outfits with this item. And then I just kind of figure it out as I go along. And I hope that was an answer.
That was a fantastic answer. I mean, it's like I said, it's fascinating to me. You were talking about how you have always loved clothes, you enjoy shopping. How do you handle not overspending? Or, I mean, I just know that me and people like me, when we get fixated on something that we really enjoy in life, we go from 0 to 1,000 in about 2 seconds, and we will stay on that and just pour all of our cash. So if this is something
Mhm.
you've enjoyed your entire life, how do you manage not going to an extreme with finances?
I can say that it's been a balance back and forth in my life, to be honest, because I do love clothes. But I think part of it is, of course, setting some kind of budget. When I'm talking to clients, of course, I have clients who have an overall budget, but I also talk through thresholds. How much they're willing to pay for an item. How much will you pay for a top? How much will you pay for a jacket, for a pair of shoes? So it's not just overall, but it's knowing what your comfortable limits are as to what you'll pay per item. And then I think it's just being really mindful and basing your shopping in needs, not just wants, which again, you need to know what you need, for lack of a better word, which means you need to have gone into your closet to see what's missing or in some way have a list so you are shopping with intention. You're not just shopping for anything that's cute. You're shopping because you know, I need a new denim jacket and I need one that's not blue. or I need some new shoes that are flat and I can walk in all day, or I need some, lightweight sweaters because it's getting cold, but I still want to layer a jacket over them. So you're shopping with much more specific needs and with filters. And that's even how I said, like, I go to the extreme when I shop for my clients because I'm so specific. But having some kind of list as boundaries, having some kind of budget and telling yourself when to stop. I even tell people if they're overwhelmed by shopping, give yourself a time limit. If you're shopping online, set a timer. Like, don't let yourself shop for more than a half an hour online because you might go crazy. And part of it, and I know some people don't agree with this, is even when you buy stuff, knowing that that's not your permanent decision. You can still decide whether one thing is better than the other. You can still decide budget and priorities once you have the bag home or once you got the box in the mail to say, okay, I ordered all this, but there's 10 things. And realistically, I should probably only keep 3. So let me figure out what my top 3 are from what I love and also what makes sense with the rest of my wardrobe. So I think it's just creating some parameters. Something I also see with clients who get a little bit of the shopping bug when we work together is recognizing when you're shopping and the purpose isn't exactly buying clothes. The purpose is diversion. The purpose is curing boredom. The purpose is filling some other emotional needs.
Hits of
Uh,
dopamine
yeah.
for
And I tell
really.
people, think through, I don't go deep into psychological stuff with my clients, but I tell them when you have that urge, just pause and think before you open your laptop or drive to the store. Pause and think through why you want to do this when you know you don't actually need anything. You know, pausing 2 hours, pausing a day, pausing your shopping a week is not going to mean you're not going to get what you need, but it can mean that you make better decisions about getting what you need.
There's a post that I made, I don't know, at some point in the past that it says like, therapist says, what do we do when we feel sad? And, like my answer is add to cart
Yeah.
because honestly, for those of us with ADHD, we do search for hits of dopamine. So for
Mm-hmm.
many of us, it is shopping, which puts us at a financial strain. And that is very, very common. So I love all of the advice, especially the timed one, because we work
Mm-hmm.
well with time. We have no
Yeah.
perception of time. So we get lost in all of those moments. And we look down and realize 4 hours has passed and we had no idea. It felt like 5 minutes ago for
Yeah.
us. I also
Well, and
really go ahead.
oh, sorry, I was going to mention one more thing that I think is super helpful with that as well is you sometimes can get that same dopamine hit or that same shopping high just by adding the stuff to your cart and saying, I'm not buying any of it today. I'm just collecting it in my cart, or I'm saving it to my Pinterest board, or I'm taking pictures. Today is a research trip and I'm only taking pictures when I'm in the store. You can still get some of that shopping satisfaction, so to speak, without actually needing to buy.
It's funny because I will take screenshots of things, right? And I did a financial portion of a post once, and it was that tip too. If there's something that you want, put it in the cart for 24 hours. If you still want it after 24 hours, okay, then you can revisit it and then decide
Mhm.
if that's right for you. And the other thing that I love that you said had to do with going to your closet first, because we have such an issue with object permanence in a
Mhm.
sense. I mean, we know that we have clothes, but we honestly completely forget items that we
Mhm.
have. So prior to going shopping, it's nice to go into the closet and be like, oh, yeah, I already have this. I already have. So what am I really going for? Is really, really great for those of us with ADHD.
Well, and I think even part of that, if you have some of that object permanence challenges, or just like some of my clients as well, just like you kind of remember, but you don't remember. If you're shopping for something to go with something, take the pictures of the stuff in your closet that you're buying stuff to go with, or take a bunch of pictures and throw them on a Pinterest board. Not to keep talking through Pinterest, it can be a lot of other mediums, but I use Pinterest. So you have sort of a bit of your wardrobe in a handy place on your phone so you can check and not be like, will that go with this color? No, you can actually reference a picture to say, ooh, I do think it will go, or ooh, no, that won't go at all.
I've never thought of that. That's brilliant too. So, for the people who don't get hits of dopamine or pleasure from shopping, but obviously we all have to go and buy things for occasions or as we lose weight, gain weight, etc. For those of us who really hate that experience, do you
Mhm.
have any advice when we need to find clothes, but to way to lessen the pain, so to speak, of it?
I mean, my first thing would be asking why you hate it. Because the answer, I mean, I can give some general answers, but the why you hate it is different. The common, what I get from people why they hate shopping is they just can't find what they want. So it becomes less about I hate shopping and more about I need tools to better find what I need. So for someone who, let's say you're shopping in person, you can do some online research. You can go check out online a few stores that you want to go to narrow down to which one or two stores you actually want to walk into because you don't love the experience, to know if they carry stuff that more vibes with your style. Some stores even have online, like you can shop that store's inventory, you can find out if certain items are in that store, so you could actually know going in whether they actually have the item you're looking for. So you don't feel like you check that out online, you love it, you go to the store and that store doesn't carry that thing. So there is some research you can do beforehand. What I also hear from people is that to help them calm the overwhelm of shopping, because that's another challenge too, besides not finding what you need, people get easily overwhelmed. It can be just narrowing your focus in a couple ways. So, I mean, I always say to people that have a hard time shopping, I ask them, so do you go to the grocery store with a list? Almost always they say yes. Have you ever gone clothing shopping with a list? Almost always they say no. So, like I said, going into your closet, knowing what you need. If you do not want to do a big closet analysis, then say you're not shopping for a month, but have a note in your phone or a pad on your dresser. So when you're getting dressed and you're like, I wish I had a blank, that blank goes on your list and that becomes your shopping list. You might not instinctually know the different kinds of things you need, but in practice, when you're getting dressed, you're like, ugh, I don't have a good shoe to go with this kind of outfit. Well, that goes on your list. Ugh, these pants need a belt and I don't have any belts. That goes on your list. So you're shopping, you're creating it less from I'm just going to find some clothes into I am targeted looking for a belt that works with these pants, for shoes that I can walk in all day, for a couple cardigans that work all over my striped t-shirts. It's like those kind of targeted things. So it becomes less overwhelming. Like I said, also setting that timer. So even if it's something you don't like to do, you know you're doing it for a half an hour or 45 minutes or whatever. I mean, that's what I do. I when I clean out my closet, it's an emotional process for me, and I can't do it all at once. So I either set a timer and or saying I'm only hitting a certain category. How that translates into shopping is you're going to the mall, you don't need to hit 10 stores in the mall, just decide you're hitting 2. And that's all you're doing in that day, just to calm down that sense of overwhelm. Or if your department stores are overwhelming, period, for most people. But I'm just going to throw Nordstrom's, for example, because I shop there a lot. They're more separated by your budget. So understand which department you'll shop and don't wander aimlessly everywhere. Hit the department that you've decided makes sense for you. So a lot of it's just narrowing your focus, which then allows you to be more productive. Even if that day all you did was discover that this store has nothing that I need, you know you're not going to go there again.
Are there any favorite online places that you feel for people who have a lot of anxiety going into public? Like, do you feel like there's places that are easier to shop online?
I mean, it depends on what can overwhelm certain people with shopping. If it's too many choices, and I would advise this honestly for anybody, most websites have good, rich filters. Use your filters, which is basically how, like, let's say you go into, I'm just Gap for the first thing that came to my head. You go on a Gap's website and you're looking at shirts. Well, you can scroll through a few hundred, or you can add filters of I'm looking for sleeveless, I'm looking for a medium, I'm looking for I like pinks and blues and greens, and I don't want to spend more than $100. You can filter all of that so it only shows you things that hit all those parameters. I'm not going to say they always work. Sometimes they don't. But at least it filters it down so it's not as overwhelming and you don't have way too many choices. You don't get overwhelmed and suddenly stop shopping, and you don't buy things that you don't need because you're starting with the list of what you need and you're filtering down to what you need. Because I shop for clients online all the time, because I shop for clients virtually, and I use the filters religiously. I don't want to see every wedding guest dress that exists. I want to see when my clients wants short sleeve, knee length, some shade of blue, and she doesn't want to spend more than $100. That narrows you, can be from 3,000 to 200. And that makes it so much easier than scrolling page after page after page. So to answer your question, I don't have specific websites that do it better, but I feel like using those tools can be incredibly helpful to just narrow down your options.
Absolutely. That is wonderful advice. I have another personal question for you. To get to know Paul a little bit more. What is your favorite trend that you've really enjoyed in the past? Like whether it was time period or whatever. Like what has been Paul's favorite trend in fashion?
Well, so I'm going to say who I channel for my summer style, specifically my summer vacation style, personally, is the Talented Mr. Ripley movie. Because it's that like 1950s Italian Riviera style, and it's cool, it's pretty classic in menswear, and I don't know, it just, I mean, it makes me feel like I'm on vacation even when I'm not on vacation. So that's a little bit like what I tell clients to do, I never do myself. I just don't practice what I preach. It is what it is. But if I ever created my own style Pinterest board for warm weather, that's what would be all over it because I just love that vibe.
That's fantastic. So tell us a little bit more about your blog. What
Okay,
all is
so
included in it?
yeah, so I on my website, which just so you know, if you want to find me on Instagram, my handle is Herb Suburb Style, and I know it's hard. My business name is Urbanite Suburbanite, and that's, I'll tell you, quick story. My business name is Urbanite Suburbanite because I've always lived outside of major cities. I grew up outside of New York. I live outside of San Francisco, and I've consistently been told that I have too much style for the suburbs and I should move to the city. And my reasoning was you can have style and feel great in your clothes no matter where you live. That's where the name Urbanite Suburbanite came up. I had to shorten it to Herb Suburb Style, which is my website and my Instagram handle, because I created my business name before I figured out if it was too long for everything. So that's kind of what happened. I did it completely out of order and was completely impractical. And you know what? I totally forgot the question.
I was asking more
Oh,
details
about my
about your
blog.
blog.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sorry. That happens to this happens to me all the time. I will
same.
start talking and then I'm like, what was I talking about? I had this conversation with someone last week. This is why I'm horrible in job interviews, because I will lose the question and then my internal dialogue will be, well, when should I stop? Do I just stop now and see if it's good? I don't know.
I
Anyway,
did that with
so
when I was telling you about snapshots earlier. I was like, yeah. And I go through my phone and I take snapshots and then I completely forgot where I was going with that. I was like, and so now we're going to talk about object permanence.
that's to know it's not just me. Um, so I have there's a lot of crossover from my blog to my newsletter to my social media. But like I said, it's really just to inspire people. It's a combo of like tips and tricks and outfit ideas, but also I like to focus a majority of it like how you think about style and how you approach your closet and how you approach shopping and those kinds of things. It's more of like those little tidbits that get you thinking. Like you mentioned at the beginning, the reel I have, which is a repeat of a reel from 6 months ago. that said like, uh, no one knows what size you're wearing unless you're wearing your clothes inside out. Like those little things that make you think that you're like, oh, I never thought of it that way. Those are my favorite things to talk about. My blog, the actual blog, my website ends up being a little more tactical. My social media ends up being a little more of those aha moments. And my newsletter, which I call Style Mail, is kind of a combo of the two. I share some of those things. Every once in a while, I share a product link. Um, but yeah, it's just I try to give it as nice inspiration, not too much because I'm one of those people that if I sign up for a newsletter and it's every week, I never read it because I'm like, it's coming next week, it's coming next week,
Same.
it's coming next week. Yeah, so I do it just twice a month. So it to me, it feels a little more special. And also I can put a little more time into each one rather than feel like I'm cranking out something all the time. Like I said, I only blog twice a month. For me, that's enough that it gives you time to read it and to work on it or whatever, as opposed to people who blog once a week or people on social media who post 5 days a week. I'm like, I can't handle that hamster wheel, let alone do I ever want to.
Yeah, I just hit the first day yesterday since I think maybe February of 2021 was when I started the Neurodivergent Nurse Instagram,
Mhm.
and I posted every day religiously until yesterday, but it was just so busy at work, and then I have an hour and a half commute, and I was like, "Man," it hit midnight, and I thought, "I just lost that streak that I've had." I was so proud of it, but yeah, I completely
Well, but
understand.
I years ago, I was with when I was with a different kind of source of social media coach. I was posting 5 days a week. And what I have realized, at least from a social media perspective, A, I'd rather focus on quality than quantity. And people also respond that way. If I post more often, I get less likes, engagement, whatever you want to call it. I post less often, and that one post gets a lot more attention. And I have people who I've said, like, I only post once or twice a week. I story every day, but I only post once or twice a week. They're like, you do? I feel like you're doing it all the time. I'm like, nope, once or twice a week. Two is my max, and so many weeks are just once because that's all I have time for. I set myself similarly to how I do things with clients and time. I set myself a certain amount of time on Monday afternoons to figure out what I'm posting. If I get one done, great. If I get two done, great. I'm done for the week. That's all I can handle.
Yeah, I could adopt that a lot more and should.
Well, because
Well,
I have people asking about social media, and I'm like, one of my biggest things is like, just decide how much time you can devote to it. And like somebody I follow on social, the way she puts it is decide your minimum. If it's one post a week, if it's your story every other day, people like to see you consistently. So just decide what that minimum is. Even if it is once a week, they know they're going to see you once a week.
yep,
Yeah.
absolutely. I've learned that too through like researching what works best and all
Hmm.
of those good things. Well, Paul, I cannot thank you enough for coming on here and talking with me and everyone listening to this show. I will definitely put your links in the show notes so that people can get to
Perfect.
you easier so they don't have to figure out how to spell what you say.
I know my crazy Instagram handle.
I mean, I'm laughing with you, but the neurodivergent nurse is a pretty long title as
There's
well.
maybe an opportunity for a misspelling in that one.
Yeah, maybe just a little. But I cannot thank you enough for your time and giving it to all of us with those great tips of
Oh,
what we can
sure.
take away from this.